So this video is going to be focusing on the rise then of Octavian, who we previously met as Octavius, name changes, particularly looking at his actions to secure his own position, but also the steps that were taken that led to the formation of the Second Triumvirate. And as you can see from this list down here, we have a pretty hefty chunk of Appian that we're going to be working our way through. So just a quick recap of where we kind of left things. So there were sort of two main factions in Rome. There's those supporting Mark Antony. There are those supporting the conspirators. And there were people kind of emerging, sort of flitting between the two. So this is where we kind of continue with Octavian. Now, when we met him previously, he was Octavius. And his name changes when he is adopted by Caesar through his will. So remember, he was his great nephew. So his name then changes to Octavian. Now, what was going on preceding this particular section of the source is that Cicero and a lot of the Senate decided to use Octavian to deal with Mark Antony. So remember, Cicero given that long speech against series of speeches against Mark Antony, and they want to remove him because they believe he's going to be another Caesar, like another tyrant. They had also supported the conspirators. So that would be Cassius and Brutus. There's another Brutus, just to confuse you, known as Decimus, and given them some different titles and provinces, etc. So Mark Antony decided that he was going to attack the conspirators because they'd killed Caesar, and then Octavian also wants to attack the conspirators, but he's, as I said, is being used by the Senate in order to try and remove Mark Antony instead. Now, Cicero in particular was behind this plan, and he kind of coined this phrase about Octavian, which was raise, praise, and then erase. So Cicero's long-term plan was raise Octavian up in status in order to allow him to have an army, etc., to praise him through honours and titles, and then to get rid of him. You can kind of probably guess where this is going. It's not going to go well. So that's kind of like the plan in the background. Keeping in mind that Octavian at this point is still around 18 or 19 years old, so he's still extremely young. Now, he has an army at this particular point, which he had inherited from Caesar as part of the will. That is obviously highly illegal because he's nowhere near the right age to have an army, but he's much younger than Pompey was in the same situation. But he's been allowed to keep the army in order to try and deal with Mark Antony. Okay, so that's kind of like putting the picture of where it's going on. Mark Antony's left Rome to go and try and kill off the conspirators, and then Octavian's been sent out to deal with him. Hopefully you're following all of this. It's complicated, this particular section. So this is where we pick it up. So in the meantime, 4 of the 5 Macedonian legions had joined Antony at Brundisium. Brundisium is in Greece. They blamed him because he had not proceeded against the murderers of Caesar. So basically his legions don't think he's acting quickly enough or ferociously enough against the conspirators. So his army is really unhappy with him. This makes Antony have quite a difficult position, which shows the importance of the army for sort of keeping power. So he's kind of forced to try and take some action to secure the support of his army. So he is pretty angry about this. He did not keep his temper, but berated them for not being grateful, that they had not expressed thanks for being transferred from the Parthian expedition to Italy. He blamed them because they had not arrested and delivered to him the emissaries of a rash youth, so Octavian, who had been sent among them to undermine their loyalty. So this is quite interesting bit. So he's angry with his army, fine, but we also have the first piece of evidence of Octavian undermining Antony's army, and he's basically using bribery and promises to try and kind of take legions off Antony, which is highly illegal, but that is what he was trying to do. Sorry, my phone just beeped at me. Okay, so we've got evidence here about bribery from Octavian. But the army he would lead to the province voted to him the prosperous Gallic country and would give 100 denarii for each man present. So he gives them promises of money. So again, trying to buy the loyalty of the army. They laughed at his meanness because that wasn't very much money. And then when he became angry, they broke out in tumult and went away. So they kind of scatter when it becomes really obvious that Auracante is really, really cross about the whole situation. He then rounds up some people, some of the soldiers. From these he chose by lot a certain number according to military law, which he put to death, not every 10th man, but a smaller number. So he's basically decimating his army, but not to the same extent as it normally would be done. And he thinks this would obviously make them really scared and force them to be loyal. But actually what happens is they just really hate him instead. So what Octavian then does, he hears about these events. So he then starts distributing some leaflets throughout the camp, sort of urging them to change sides and come over to Octavian instead. And in the pamphlet, to recall the memory of the elder Caesar, as in Julius Caesar, and share the service of his heir, Octavian, and his generous gift. So he's promising money. So again, bribery and corruption going on. Antony tried to find these agents by promising large rewards for information and threats against those who helped them, but he wasn't able to. That's a weird pause there. When the news came of what Octavian was doing among the colonised veterans at Rome, he became alarmed. So he's not just targeting soldiers, but also ex-soldiers. And he basically then Antony has to go back to his army and be like, oh, I'm really sorry for disciplining you, but I was like, I was just doing what the law told me to do. And then he also says, the 100 denarii which I have ordered to be given you is not a bounty, for that would be unworthy of the fortune of Antony, but a small present to mark our first meeting, i.e. this is the first of many payments. Please be loyal to us. Please, please, please do not go against me. And he also sort of treats the army quite well as well, because he needs them. He's aware that he needs the power of the army behind him. So again, we have this evidence, for the importance of bribery, the importance of corruption, but also the importance of the army for your own position. Then Antony selects a whole number of Praetorian Guard and the cohort of the men who, with the best physique and character, marched to Rome. So Antony is not marching on Rome, but he's marching back to the city in order to secure his position. He entered the city in an arrogant manner. I should point out that sources don't like Mark Antony very much, leaving his troops encamped outside the walls. The troops that accompanied him were ready for action. They mounted a guard over his house by knights under arms. So they sort of seized the city, really. Technically not marching on it, but obviously not acting necessarily in a very republican manner. Antony then calls the Senate together to make a complaint of the acts of Octavian. Just as he was entering it, he learned that the so-called Martian legion, one of his four on the road, had gone over to Octavian. So Octavian's actions are now paying off, and he's beginning to leech legions off Antony onto his side instead. It was announced that another legion called the Fourth followed the example of this one and then changed sides. So he's pretty disconcerted by all of this, understandably. So in order to shore up his support, he then promises another 500 denarii to each man. What does seem to be clear, according to Appian, is war was now certain because Decimus Brutus had refused to give up Cisalpine Gaul. So this is one of the conspirators. Okay, fine. So Octavian is stealing Antony's legions. Antony's trying to use money to secure his power, and now they're going to march against the conspirators. While Antony was at Tibur, nearly all of the Senate and the greater part of the equestrian order and the most influential plebeians came there to pay their respects. So he manages to get key support on his side, fine, and they voluntarily join in taking the oath they would not cease in friendship and loyalty to Antony. So he appears to have the city pretty much on side. And then he starts off for Araminium. Okay, cool. So he's on his way to Brutus, basically, to deal with Brutus. So in terms of the armed forces, Antony has 4 legions of troops. Lepidus, who's one of his allies, has 4 legions in Spain. Another ally, Pollio, with 2. And then Plancus, which is a brilliant name, has 3. So these guys are all seen to support him. So basically, Antony has the numbers. He has absolutely the numbers on his side. Octavian, on the other hand, has 2 legions. Okay. He has another legion he had sort of signed up, and he has 2 lots of veterans. And that's kind of it, really. So he's outnumbered quite dramatically. The Senate praised them and Octavian despite this, and said it would vote them whatever was needed. It was plain that the Senate would use the legions against Antony, but having no army of its own anywhere and being unable to enlist one without consuls, it postponed all business until the new consul should come in. So despite the fact that the Senate is seemingly supporting Antony, it is also supporting Octavian. So basically, what the Senate is trying to do, like I said before, with Cicero in particular, is they're using Octavian to try and get rid of Antony, then get rid of Octavian afterwards. So they're kind of playing the two sides off against each other. But they can't give any more legions to Octavian because there aren't these consuls, so they need some new consuls. So this is when Octavian's soldiers start to push for him to get more titles. So the soldiers of Octavian furnished him with lictors, so those are like the bodyguards, provided with fasces, those rods that symbolise power, and urged him to assume the title of propraetor because he was their leader, and that's what they needed to do, and that the army serves magistrates. So they want to basically give him a title and essentially the powers of a provincial commander without any elections, and obviously he hasn't had any right to do so. So Octavian thanks him for the honour, but refers the matter to the Senate. So Octavian is acting very republican here. He's trying to present himself not like Caesar and just taking power, but returning powers down. So when the soldiers wanted to go before the Senate en masse, he prevented them and would not even allow them to send a delegation. And he believed that the Senate would vote these things to him voluntarily, particularly if he shows that he's not trying to seize power. The army is not particularly happy. Leading soldiers complained he ignored them, so that's pretty obvious what that means. He explained that the Senate was moved not by goodwill towards him as feared by Antony. So what you'll start to see here is Octavian's political awareness. He may be a young man, he may be the boy, as Antony and Cicero mentioned, but he was actually politically incredibly intelligent. So he knows that the Senate's not supporting him because they really like him, they're just trying to get rid of Mark Antony. So what we're going to start to see some evidence of is Octavian doing some political manoeuvring in the background. I should make it clear that Octavian is personally my favourite person in history because he's just incredibly clever, and he does later become the first emperor, spoiler alert, through this kind of political manoeuvring as well as other events. And like I said, we start to see glimpses of it in this Appian source, of this awareness of what's going on around him. So knowing these facts, I falsely pretend to be serving them. So he makes it clear, yeah, look, I know what the Senate's doing, so I'm going to pretend that I'm helping them too. In reality, I'm not. I'm out for myself. Let us not be the first to expose this deception, so let's not make the first move. If we usurp the magistrates, they will accuse us of arrogance and violence, whereas if we are modest, they will probably give it of their own accord, fearing that I accept it from you. So if you, the army, calm it down, the Senate will give me the power because they'll be frightened of you, because they think you're going to give me the titles, and therefore we need to just let them come to us instead of me taking power. So he gives a speech, and then he does some military exercises, and then he uses that as an excuse to give out yet another 500 denarii to each man. And then he promised that in the case of war, so he's thinking well ahead here, he would give him another 5,000 denarii if they won. And it's a really nice quote about the importance of bribery in the army. Thus, by means of lavish gifts, did Octavian bind these mercenaries to himself. So he buys the loyalty of the army through just sheer, speeches, rhetoric about sort of using the Senate, but also through money, so through the bribery and corruption. So that's going on in Italy. Back in France, Antony orders Decimus Brutus to depart for Macedonia because the decree of the Roman people for his own safety. Decimus basically refuses and says, look, I've got these letters to be given to me by the Senate, and he cares no more for the command of the people than Antony did for that of the Senate. So he's sort of saying, the people may vote for this stuff, but I listen to the Senate, and I listen to the people as much as you listen to the Senate, so just shut up, basically. Antony then fixes a day for his compliance, after which he should treat him as an enemy, so it's a bit of a threat. Decimus advised him to fix a later date, lest Antony should soon make himself an enemy to the Senate. So, Decimus is playing for time, basically, at this particular point. Antony could have done something about it, but chose not to at this particular point. Decimus, fearing that he, for his part, should now be unable to enter any of these cities, fabricated letters from the Senate calling back to Rome, and his army retired towards Italy. So he just leaves, saying, I've got these letters from the Senate, when he makes them up. So he's forged. So he's got corruption there as well. So that's fine. He basically ends up in a place called Messina, and Antony advances towards and surrounds the city. And there's this big battle of Messina, which we'll watch a video on when I get to it. So Decimus is then besieged, so he can't get out. Meanwhile, imagine kind of like fade scene in a film. We then have some issues around the consuls. So there's 2 new consuls, Hirtius and Pansa, and they convene the Senate to discuss Antony, and as in what we're going to do about Antony. Cicero and his friends urged Antony now be declared a public enemy, since he had occupied Cisalpine Gaul with an armed force against the will of the Senate. So he's basically acting illegally, we should do something about it. Cicero and his others also speak of his seeking the supreme power as Caesar's successor. So this is kind of playing the long game that Cicero's been doing, which is trying to show that Antony was going to be a tyrant and they need to get rid of him for the safety of Rome. Piso thinks he's a member of the Senate and should be given a trial first, because you can't just condemn someone without a trial. Fair point. I'm just scrolling down here. So the Senate's divided about this, understandable. So they sort of discuss for ages. Then the party Cicero is in the majority, and Antony would have been voted a public enemy had not the tribune Salvius adjourned the sitting to the next day. So again, we have the importance of tribunes, sort of constitution working as it's supposed to, etc., etc. But also power of the Senate in terms of maybe declaring Antony an enemy of the state. So Cicero's party not only reviled Salvius and insulted him in the coarsest manner, so they were a bit rude about him, but they also tried to inflame the people against him. So use of rhetoric, importance of the plebs. There's lots of themes. A lot of this evidence can be used for. And he was So Salvanus is then restrained by the Senate, who were afraid that he would make the people change their mind by reminding them of Antony. So they're worried about the power of the tribunes and the power of rhetoric as well. So many people giving so many speeches. They also fear for the safety of the assassins, so they're worried about Cassius and Brutus and Decimus. They were angry with Antony because he had made the first movement against them after the amnesty, for which reason the Senate had previously called in the help of Octavian against him. Fine. Although Octavian knew this, he decided nevertheless to take the lead in humbling Antony. But he also, to be fair to the Senate, Octavian also wants to get rid of Antony. Octavian's long-term plan, to be completely honest, is to take power. So he needs to get rid of Antony, but he also needs to secure his position at the same time. So that's why he's kind of siding with the Senate at this particular point. Sorry, I itch my shoulder. In order to try and get rid of Antony. Right. Okay. Cool. The Senate then, this is still the Senate, passes a decree praising Decimus for not abandoning Cisalpine Gaul to Antony for standing his ground, and directed Octavian to assist consuls Hirtius and Pansa with the army he now had. I don't know why I didn't highlight that. That's really annoying. I haven't got the same blue. I'll go for that blue. They awarded him a gilded statue. That's nice. And the right to declare his opinion among the consulars in the Senate. And the right to stand for the consulship itself 10 years before the legal age. So this is the raising of Octavian. So this is all going to plan for Cicero. They have raised him up. They're giving him titles and honours and praise, and isn't he a great guy? So the next logical stage eventually is going to be getting rid of him. But you can kind of see Cicero and that faction's plan. They're raising him and they're praising him. He's got the gold statue. He's got the honours of acting like a consul but not being a consul. And he's going to be allowed to stand for the consulship early. So they're trying to, at this point, keep Octavian on side. And they're going to send, basically, Octavian and the consuls off to deal with Antony. Once Antony is gone, they can then get rid of Octavian. That's the plan. I don't know why I highlighted that bit there. That's a bit weird, isn't it? Oh, well, whatever. Okay, cool. So then we jump forward in the story, you'll be pleased to know, a little bit. Basically, there's a battle. And the battle is at Messina. And it basically, Antony loses this particular battle, but he's able to escape. And he escapes to Transalpine Gaul. Now, Hirtius is killed in the battle, and Pansa is dying. Oh, sorry, to move himself around a little bit. So that's kind of what's happened here. It's going to talk about the events that occur afterwards. So in Rome didn't read it. Cicero, in Rome, read to people the report of the consul and to the Senate alone of that of Octavian, i.e. that he had won this battle. For victory over Antony, he proposed them to vote a thanksgiving of 50 days. So again, we've got more of this praising. Thank you very much, Octavian. He induced them to give the army of the consuls to Decimus, although Pansa was still alive, but he's about to die, and to appoint Decimus the sole commander against Antony. So they're still trying to get rid of Antony because Antony had escaped. Cool, fine. Oh, lost my place. There we go. Blah, 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 blah. He confirmed again to the 2 legions that deserted from Antony the 5,000 denarii per man previously promised them as rewards of victory. So they're going to fulfill Octavian's promises. However, there was not a word about Octavian in the Senate's decrees, and his name was not even mentioned. He was forthwith disregarded. I love that word, forthwith. Disregarded as though Antony were already destroyed. So they have raised, they've praised, and now they're going to get rid of him. Letters were also sent to Lepidus, to Plancus, and to Pollio to continue the campaign by moving against Antony. So they are discarding Octavian to the side. Big mistake. Big mistake. Anyway, carrying on. So, in the meantime, Pansa's dying, and then he summons Octavian to his side. Plot twist. So then he kind of lays out what he thinks the Senate is up to. So at first they feared you and Antony, but especially Antony, and they were delighted with your quarrels, thinking you would mutually destroy each other. So this is fitting in with what we said earlier. And they became more, and when they saw you were more proud and self-restrained, because you turned down honours, and because you declined the magistracy the army offered you, they were kind of in disarray, and they appointed the command in order we might draw away, there is, your true experience away from legions, away from you, hoping that when one of you was defeated, excuse me, the other would be weakened and lacking in allies, so that the whole of Caesar's party would be eliminated and that of Pompey to be restored to power. This is their chief aim, i.e. raise, praise and erase. Fine. We then skip forward. So this is, the big reveal to Octavian. But Octavian kind of knew this already because, like I said, he wasn't an idiot. So Octavian, though he considered an insult that Decimus instead of himself was chosen to be called the command against Antony, he concealed his anger, because he's political, and asked for honours of a triumph. But this was turned down by the Senate because he's too young. He then began to fear that if Antony were destroyed, he would be despised even more, and so he desired the reconciliation with Antony. Big plot twist now coming. Accordingly, he began to make friends of the stray officers and soldiers from Antony's army. So basically, Octavian is aware that the Senate's going to try and get rid of him. So when someone's going to try and get rid of you, what's the safest thing to do? Make friends with your enemy, of course. But remember, Antony has a large army. Octavian has a pretty large army. If they join forces, they've got a really big army between them. So this is beginnings of the second triumvirate. Okay? So he basically captures a few people here, and then they're allowed to go. That's kind of that bit there. So I've picked out one of them. Fact that Octavian's acting very Caesar-like, so he's treating them with honour and clemency and allows them to go if he wants to. So basically he's trying to improve his image with Antony. After conveying these hints to Antony, Octavian wrote still more plainly to Lepidus, who's going to be the third member of the triumvirate, and Asinius concerning the insults himself and the rapid advancement of the murderers, i.e. those who'd killed Caesar, as in Brutus and Decimus, etc. And he's really worried that the Pompeian faction will come and then he's going to be killed and everyone's going to be awful and is it going to be terrible. So Octavian advised that for the sake of appearances, they should obey the Senate, but they should plan together for their own safety while they could still do so. So team up, pretend we hate each other, but team up in secret. So as a result, they should reprimand Antony for his conduct in public, and they should follow the example of their own soldiers. But in order that they might not expose to the assaults of enemies, to settle together in groups upon the conquered territory. So in public, they're going to be like, we hate each other, but behind the scenes, they're going to work together. Plancus soon joined him with his own army, and then Decimus wrote to the Senate that he would hunt down Antony. But this is like the war against the conspirators is still going on. Okay, so then Octavian changes tact more publicly. He incites the army to anger against the Senate, so the importance of the army for support. both on the account of its continued insults towards himself and for requiring the soldiers to undertake a second campaign before paying them 5,000 denarii per man, which he promised to give them. So in other words, the Senate's treating you badly, it's treating me badly, it's treating all of us badly. Look what the Senate's going to do to us next. He advised them to send a deputation and ask for the money, and they sent some centurions. Cool, fine. The Senate understands that they've been sent by Octavian, and that yes, they will also send some deputies to do this. They sent these under instructions to arrest the 2 legions to set from Antony when Octavian was not present, to advise the soldiers not to rest their hopes on a single person on the Senate, which alone had permanent power. I will highlight that because it's quite a nice quote about the Senate. To go to Camp Decimus, where they find promised money. Having delivered these instructions to the deputies, they forwarded half the bounty and appointed 10 men to oversee the distribution, to whom it did not add Octavian even as an 11th. So Octavian's kind of being left out, but he's been left out on purpose. He's doing this for a reason. As the 2 legions refused to meet them without Octavian, the deputies returned without achieving anything. So basically, the Senate's trying to maybe win over his soldiers, and they can't because Octavian's not there. But assembled the army and came before them and told them the insults he had suffered from the Senate. Like I said, he's manoeuvring behind the scenes. Yes, the Senate's going to give them money, but they're only sending the deputies, and deputies can't make a deal unless Octavian's there, but Octavian's deliberately not there, so therefore they can't make a deal. It's all very clever political manoeuvring going on in the background. Okay, cool. So then he gives a speech to his army, or one of his armies anyway. What confidence can you have in keeping the lands and money you've received from him? Or what confidence can I have in my own safety while the close associates of the murderers are so powerful in the Senate? So how can we be safe if they're still looking after conspirators? I fear for you so many brave men who are risking danger on behalf of me and my father, as in Julius Caesar. You know that I have been free from ambition. Yeah, right, but that's what he says in public. I see only one path of safety now for both of us, which is for me to obtain the consulship by your help. Ah, right, okay, here is clearly what Octavian is up to. He's trying to secure his own position. Now, part of the reason why Octavian was in quite an unsecure position is because Antony had not accepted the terms of Caesar's will. That's why Antony and Octavian were fighting officially. Obviously, then he's aware that the Senate is planning to get rid of him after he's defeated Antony, so his position is really insecure. Octavian realises he needs the army on side. That's why he's giving these particular arguments. You know, the conspirators, you guys were Caesar's army. The people who killed Caesar are still in the Senate and really powerful, and nothing's been done about it. You know, once I'm gone, what are they going to do to us? So I need to be protected in the law, and the only way I can be protected is to become consul. Very clever. Really good examples of the use of rhetoric here by Octavian, and the importance of the army. I believe we're nearly at the end of this section. At these words, the army cheered enthusiastically, I bet they did, and immediately sent their centurions to ask for the consulship of Octavian. So basically, we've got the use of the army to maybe not seize power in the violent sense, but certainly intimidate the Senate into giving him the power that he wanted. When the Senate in reply pointed out his age, quite rightly, the centurions replied, and they gave some examples of people who've been done too early, such as Pompey the Great and a few others. And essentially, the Senate says, no, he's too young and you're well outside your remit of what you should be doing. When the army heard this, they were still more exasperated and demanded to be led immediately to the city, saying that they would hold a special election and raise Octavian to the consulship because he was Caesar's son. So they would just hold an election and get him elected. Okay. When Octavian saw their state of eagerness, because he's played them very cleverly, he led them directly from the assembly, 8 legions and sufficient cavalry. He then crosses the Rubicon from Gaul into Italy. So technically he's marching on Rome here, because once you've crossed the Rubicon with your army, you have kind of declared war in the city. As the stream has farther across, likewise, in the manner of beginning civil war. So, you know, he's basically doing what Caesar did. And he sort of splits his army in two, and one part of it he takes the city unprepared. There's not a fight here. The Senate just kind of goes, what? What do we do? And they kind of send some money away. When the news of Octavian's approach reached the city, there was immense confusion and panic. I bet there was. Because yet another man marching on the city would be pretty scary. The Senate was inordinately terrified since they had no military force at their disposal, so shows the weakness of the Senate. Some complained they'd been insolently deprived Octavian of the command of the of the command of the campaign against Antony. Others they had treated to contempt his demand for a triumph. Others because they'd resented him the honour of distributing the money. So they kind of realised they've made some mistakes here, and maybe they should have been a little bit nicer to Octavian, because now it's coming back to bite them. Okay, cool. So they then give out a load of money to the legions to try and keep them happy. Octavian is allowed to be a candidate for the consulship in absentia. Directly after they left the city, the Senate repented, so they realised that wasn't a good idea. They felt they ought not to have been terrified cowards, or nor accept a new tyranny without bloodshed. So they kind of realise they've made a mistake by promising these things to Octavian and start to go back on their word. And they think if they do it, it would be best to endure a siege until Decimus and Plancus should come to the rescue. So they think that their kind of key supporters will come back and save them. Okay, fine. Sorry, I'm taking a deep breath for this next section. So they summon the legions back. Fine. Cicero again made his appearance. He's been very quiet to this point. They proceed to alter all their decisions. All men of military range were enlisted, and the 2 legions of Africa and the 1,000 cavalry and another legion that Panzer left behind. These were assigned to their proper places. So they basically raised some troops in order to make Octavian really worried, and maybe he would, turn all of it down and stop trying to be so power grabby, I guess. Power grabby. And they try and find his family, but they can't find them. Oh, sorry, itchy face. While Octavian was still giving an audience to the messengers, it was announcing that decrees had been rescinded. Excuse me. Soldiers really angry, understandably. So Octavian goes back to the city because he thinks his family might be hurt. And he sends some horsemen to tell people, don't be worried, I'm not going to kill you all. Don't be worried, I'm not killing anybody. The patricians flocked out and saluted him. The common people also ran out, and good order of the soldiers for a sign of peace. So the people were very supportive of Octavian, coming to the city in a really peaceful way. Octavian advanced towards the city, leaving his army where it was, and having with him only an appropriate bodyguard, and again crowds meet him. So he's looking really peaceful. He's not trying to seize power by military force. Therefore, he's winning the people onto their side. 3 legions, but the commander sent delegations to him and changed sides. So he wins over some soldiers. And then Cicero kind of intervenes in it all and talks to Octavian and sort of says, oh, look, I was just trying to save the Republic, blah, blah, blah. And, I sort of propose that you should have the consulship. Cool, fine. Octavian, however, isn't sold by Cicero's intervention. He knows what Cicero's up to and has this little pithy line. So Octavian answered ironically that Cicero seemed to be the last of his friends to greet him, i.e., I don't really believe it, you're my friend at all, mate. It's all for show. We are nearly there. I know this is a long one, I'm really sorry. It's a long old section of Appian. So the next night, a rumour grew that 2 of Octavian's legions had gone over to the Senate. The praetors in the Senate put faith in this report heedlessly, so they shouldn't have believed the rumour because it's just a rumour, thinking that with the assistance of these 2 legions, it would be possible to hold out against the rest of Octavian's army until some force from elsewhere had come to the rescue. So that's fine. Senators assembled by night in the Senate House. Cicero received them at the door, but when the news was contradicted, he took flight in a litter. So basically, the rumour was proven to be untrue. They panic and they run away. Octavian laughed at them, I bet he did, and moved his army nearer to the city. He then acts very similarly to Caesar, so he pardons them all in order to get this reputation for clemency, but not long after they were listed amongst the proscribed. So this we'll talk about later in another video about these proscriptions. It's not just Octavian using them, it's the second triumvirate. He ordered that the public money be brought to him, and then he distributes out loads of money to his soldiers. So again, he is using basically bribery and corruption in order to win the support of the army. And then he is elected, and he is now consul. So Octavian, at the age of 19 now, maybe 20, is consul. Hugely illegal, but here we are. It is the collapse of the late Republic, and this is Octavian being brilliant, as I said he would be. He then has his adoption from the will by Caesar ratified again, because he basically wants everyone to support him. So accessories of Caesar were a large number of freemen, many of them rich, and this was perhaps the principal reason why Octavian wanted the adoption by vote of the people. So he wants it to be public. He wants the people to support him. He wants the support of his rich people to help finance his next stage in world domination. Okay, so hopefully that all made sense. I would give you a recap, but it's incredibly busy. I would recommend making a little bit of a list of the key events, particularly people changing sides at this point. The key message really is that the Senate was trying to use Octavian to get rid of Antony. Octavian was aware of this, makes a counter move, and is now wonderfully the position of consul. Mark Antony's in quite a weak position at this point. He still has the army, but he has been defeated in battle. Some of the key supporters of the Senate and their faction have also been defeated. Panzer and Hirtius have been killed in battle. So we have now beginnings of the formation of the Second Triumvirate. Octavian realises that he needs to side with Antony for a while in order to protect himself against the Senate, which is what we're going to have a look at in the next video.